Get ready, fasten your seatbelts and get some popcorn or a cuppa because this is going to be fun. I'm going to make a really simple mistake as beginners do. I thought I had that under control. Apparently I don't. So stay with me and watch me fail. And if you like this kind of video and you're new around here, consider subscribing. I would really appreciate it. It helps the channel a lot and that way you don't miss anything. We fail and we get up again on our feet and go on sewing because it's nothing you can do. You can't just get depressed or anything. So that's that. And I'll leave you here my Instagram account as well. Since the minute I got this piece of linen in my fabric store, it was in the Random box, of course. I knew I wanted to make a pair of trousers with it. Of course, dresses still fit me, skirts don't, and neither do trousers. So I only have this pair I made last month. So I'm going to make another pair, a comfy one, but instead of making an elasticated waistband one, I'm going to make one elasticated but shrill with this elastic thread, which I think is going to work perfectly. And this is how everything started to go wrong. You cannot use different fabrics for the same project if it's a particular one. For example, the trousers I'm wearing, I took into account my bump and it's a stretchy fabric, and I wanted to do the same with linen, which has nothing of stretchiness. It doesn't stretch at all, so it's ridiculous. And the worst thing is that I've said that before when I've done cloning style videos. I always say you have to choose the same kind of fabric if you're going to choose a poplin or a cotton, something that behaves the same. So it's a pity. It's not useless because I can do something with it in a few months, so it's not a waste, but you can't feel but a bit disappointed with yourself. What was I thinking? Let's go back to the beginning. These don't have to be exactly maternity trousers, they can be comfy trousers you can wear around the house or to do some errands. But because they have the elasticated shred bit, it's going to be really comfy for my growing bump. And it's not going to be constricted like an elasticated waistband, which is really uncomfortable. Confession time. I'm sure it's not only me, the one who ends up sewing in the underwear when they're trying something on and off the whole time of the sewing process, eh? It's not only me, is it? And now with my fabric folded in half, I have enough for making the 4 panels in the 150 centimeters of width. I'm going to use the trousers I am wearing right now, so the camera should look a bit up. So I'm going to fold them towards the front and then put them on top of my fabric. This way I can clone, I can trace around the trousers as a pattern. And these ones haven't got an inner seam either, they just have the side seams. So it's quite comfortable to sew like this, it's quite useful, very fast and convenient. And you can do it when you have a pair of trousers that are straight and bulky. You cannot do this with nice trousers, because if not you'll get your waistline twisted, so don't do that. So but now we can put them like this on top of the fabric and trace all around, and then I'll do the same with the back. I don't really know how I got to this, how I started really, how I thought it was a good idea to use this fabric for this. you know what? I'm going to sit comfortably to see the show. You should not use this fabric for this kind of project, or at least take into account your bump. It's not listening. And now doing the same with the back seam. With this one in the back, which is not as curved as the one on the front, and I'm going to place it where the other one finished. With any piece of fabric you buy, you always have to make sure the cut is straight, but with remnants even more, because, for example, look at this. There's a bit that is missing here, so I have to cut up here. Well, if I have this folded, I don't really need to cut it so I can sew it again. Can I make a pair of trousers from a whole width of the fabric? The worst thing is that I'm super convinced that I'm doing so well. And that's when then you crush, don't you? The disappointment. So this is Irene here thinking, and this is trial and error sewing tutorials. Well, not trial and error, but I mean that I learn by when I sew something. I haven't been to lessons or anything, so sometimes I discover things. For example, now I just realized I have my pattern drawn, and it's already quite an easy project because it's in a whole panel. But I'm thinking that because I have it folded, I have my fabric folded here, I don't need to cut this and sew it again, really. So can I make a pair of trousers from the whole width of the fabric? So I've been thinking for a while, and I think it makes sense. So I'm going to cut, I just cut the hemline because it needed cutting, and then I'm going to cut this top with the curves. And that's it. I'm not going to cut anything else. It makes no sense. This was another mistake. I thought I could do it like I did this one. This one hasn't got any inner seam, which is extremely comfortable. But then I thought I could make it without the side seam as well. Where's the legs of the trousers? Of course it didn't work because I have a seam missing. There's no way to turn it around. So I should have done the two fronts and the two backs on the other side, not together. So at the end I have to cut in the middle and make like a normal pair of trousers. What a waste. It's not really a waste, but I just made life difficult. Nada, que me compliqué la vida yo de una manera... Uf, mi madre, qué cabeza. Qué cabeza. Vamos a unir esto. So I have more work to do because I have the two fronts and the two backs. Ay. I wanted to make it quicker, and look. So my machine is threaded with a normal 90-14 needle. I have a polyester thread. I'm going to sew with a straight stitch in a 4 length. And let's go ahead and do the crochet lines first. And this is how everything started to go wrong. You cannot use different fabrics for the same project if it's a particular one. For example, the trousers I'm wearing, I took into account my bump, and it's a stretchy fabric. And I wanted to do the same with linen, which has nothing of stretchiness. It doesn't stretch at all, so it's ridiculous. And the worst thing is that I've said that before when I've done cloning style videos. I always say you have to choose the same kind of fabric if you're going to choose a poplin or a cotton, something that behaves the same. So it's a pity. It's not useless because I can do something with it in a few months. So it's not a waste, but you can't feel but a bit disappointed with yourself. What was I thinking? Well, don't get extremely upset when something like this happens to you. It happens to all of us, and apparently when you have even been sewing for more than 10 years and you know what you're doing, supposedly, and things like this happen. I think I'm not extremely upset because the Roman was really cheap. It was only €6, and I know when I'm done with my bump and after a while I'll be able to wear them and fix them. Maybe I add a zip or whatever, and I'll be able to take advantage of this. So I'm going to keep them. Don't just throw them away, and just try to remember the simple rules, the basic ones, like you have to use the same fabric for the same project, for or something that behaves in a similar way, so you don't end up with things like this. But the rest of the time I do quite well. So So consider subscribing, because we learn things every single day, don't we? And don't forget to stay tuned for next week. Bye. Ay, señor.